Today we're going to be reading a book called Meaner Than a Junkyard Dog. The person that wrote the book is called the author, and his name is Charles Vincent. And then the person who illustrated the book is called John Sue. And John Sue is the person that made all the pictures, because that's what an illustrator does. An illustrator makes all the pictures for the book. Does anybody know what this page is? It's called the title page. Okay, here we go. Mac Dillon was a famous criminal in Indianapolis. He was known for stealing shiny diamonds from jewelry stores. The police tried very hard to catch Mac Dillon, but he was still on the loose. His robberies seemed almost impossible. They often involved stealing diamonds through tiny windows that most people could never fit through. There you go. One police officer, Officer Cassidy, was hot on his trail. Officer Cassidy had a secret weapon, which was his trusty police dog named Semi. Semi was an amazing police dog. No other dog could outrun, outjump, or outbeat Sammy at anything. That's Sammy. Here's the next picture. One night, Officer Cassidy and Semi were sitting in an alley watching over a jewelry store. They saw a team of dogs get out of a van and enter the jewelry store through a skylight. After a few minutes, the dogs came back down with their bags of diamonds in their mouths. They had managed to steal the diamonds without triggering any of the alarm systems. Semi recognized the leader of the dog thieves as Bone Crusher, a well-known street dog with a long history of crime. Officer Cassidy recognized the driver of the van as Mac Dillon. That's the bad guy, remember? They now understand how Mac Dillon was getting away with all of these amazing crimes. It was his dogs, right? Officer Cassidy and Semi called for the rest of the police to move in. Police cars rushed in and quickly surrounded them. Officer Cassidy arrested Mac Dillon and put him in handcuffs. There was an amazing dogfight between Semi and Bone Crusher. As Bone Crusher lost, the police caught him and sent him to the dog pound. Sadly, the victory was short-lived, as Mac Dillon soon escaped from the prison and Bone Crusher soon broke out of the dog pound. Here's the next picture. That night, Semi and his little son, Cody, were in the backyard of Officer Cassidy's house. Cody was so happy to see his daddy come home. Just then, Bone Crusher and his gang came running up on them. They captured Semi and Cody and took them to a nearby bridge. Bone Crusher laughed and said, "This will teach you to mess with the meanest street dog in Indianapolis." With that, he threw Semi over the side of the bridge and into the cold, cold water. He then glared at little Cody and said, "You too. Never mess with the meanest street dog in Indianapolis." He threw Cody into the rapids below. Rapids are in water. They're when the water goes really, really fast. Sometimes when you look at an ocean, it's like really calm, and sometimes it's super bumpy and really hard. That's what a rapid is. He threw Cody into the rapids below. Though Semi was hurt, he swam with all his might to catch up with his son. Cody soon disappeared into the night-blanked river and could not be found. The next morning, Semi awoke exhausted on the riverbank. He continued to search for Cody, but he was nowhere in sight. Semi had deep sorrow in his heart and thought his tiny son must have drowned. That's them throwing him into the river. Here's the next picture. However, Cody was alive. He was found wet and whimpering next to the river by an old man, Shreve. Shreve was a kind-hearted man that owned a large junkyard. He picked up the shivering puppy and brushed him off. Poor little Cody could not remember what happened prior to this. He could only remember falling off the bridge into the cold water and the words of Bone Crusher that horrible night. "The little scrawny thing," he said, "you might be mighty one day." he said with a chuckle. But just wait and see. Old Gus will teach you plenty. Old Man Shreve took the puppy to the junkyard and introduced him to the meanest junkyard dog that ever lived, Gus. Gus snarled at Cody at first, but quickly warmed up to the little puppy. He felt sorry for him. Being so small and helpless, Gus figured that he would need to give him a name. I'll call you Junk Dog. JD for short, Gus told him. As soon as time went by, Gus started to teach the little puppy how to be a junkyard dog. They were surrounded by huge mountains of steel beams and old cars. This training ground was perfect for teaching. Gus bragged to the puppy, I'll teach you plenty, but you will probably never be a true junkyard dog like me. Don't blame yourself, though. After all, it is a very hard job. Gus started teaching the puppy the most basic skills, such as how to have a scary growl and a mean bark. Whenever thieves came over the fence, Gus only had to bark once or twice. The men would run away in a great fright. JD wanted to develop a bark that was just as great. So, JD practiced his bark day in and day out, just to get it right. Then Gus told JD how to catch a thief. Just bite their pant leg and drop to your knees. Then just bark. They'll run off and never come back. It works every time, he said, chuckling. And chuckling means laughing. There's that. Little JD tried practicing this trick on Old Man Shreve. It just didn't work. Given JD's small size, he bit Old Man Shreve's pant leg, but he just kept walking as though JD wasn't there. He was smiling and giggling at the little puppy's effort. That changed soon enough as JD got bigger. JD prided himself the first time he knocked Old Man Shreve down to the ground. Okay, you win, Junkyard Dog, Old Man Shreve said as he laughs in delight. I knew old Gus would train you right. As I said before, you'll be mighty one day. Day in and day out, JD trained to keep the junkyard safe. As much time passed, he became very strong and he got so big. He could run with fantastic speed. He had amazing teeth and a growl that was unforgettable. His bark was so loud that thieves were instantly afraid and ran away when they would hear it. He learned how to quickly climb the mountains of junk and could dart in and out of the old junk. Gus proved to teach him with great wisdom and skill about where to place the body in his paws during a climb, a chase, and a fight. One day, Gus said, JD, you've got it, kid. You're finally as mean as a junkyard dog. Honestly, you're better than any other dog I've ever seen. The junkyard has been safer. I know that you'll never knew your own father, but if he could see you now, he'd be mighty proud of you. These words were wonderful to hear for JD, but he felt that he finally made Gus proud. Here's the next picture. However, I still need to teach you my special trick. It's what you do when you have no other options. I like to refer to it as the Gus's special. And with these words, Gus fell down to silence. He didn't move at all, not even a breath. Fearing that Gus may have just died, JD cried out to him, Gus, are you okay? Just then, in a single move, Gus sprang up and kicked JD with all four paws and a powerful punch to the chest. This sent JD flying through the air onto an old mattress. He was shaken, but he wasn't hurt. Gus laughed with all his might and said, That's a Gus special. After a moment, JD joined in with the laughter. That was amazing, JD said through the laughter. One day, JD was sitting by the front fence. Some stray dogs rolled by. Hey there, junkyard dog. Hurry up and guard the worthless junk, one said while they were all laughed at him. He always thought that a junkyard dog was worthy of pride, but somehow the joke still made him feel sad and small. JD didn't understand why they were making fun of him. His smile faded from his face. Get out of here, commanded a nearby police dog that overheard the whole thing. This was the first time JD had ever seen a police dog. The police dog stood there and looked glorious and strong. JD marveled at his shiny badge. The dogs all quickly apologized to JD. Yes, sir, we were just leaving, officer. We're sorry. And the dogs ran away in the distance. As the officer started to walk away, JD heard him say, Pay no attention to the words of other rude dogs. Everyone matters. At least you're on the good side. Remember, it doesn't matter where you come from, or where you live, or what you do for a living. What matters most is always standing up for what's right. JD had a lot of thoughts and feelings regarding this and talked to Gus that evening. I think I want to be a police dog, JD told him. JD had a lot of thoughts and feelings about that. That's nonsense. You don't need that. Just stay here and guard the junkyard. Gus replied with a big yawn. It's the best. JD replied, I want to do more. I know I can help keep the junkyard safe. Now I want to help keep the whole city safe. I really want to do this. How can I become a junkyard dog? And how can I become a police dog? Oh, Gus replied with another yawn. At first you need to go to the police academy, then you need to get certified. Blah, blah, blah. It's a waste of time. Just be happy here. This is good enough for any dog, Gus muttered as he fell off to sleep. It isn't good enough for me, JD whispered to himself. Not anymore. One night, a group of 3 men climbed over the fence to steal car stereos. They snuck right up on Gus while he was asleep. They caught Gus in a net, and he was very afraid. Just then, JD leaped on top of the bulldozer. He quickly chased one thief away. He grabbed the second by the pant leg and made him fall down. JD growled and barked, scaring him away too. The third man tried to hide, but JD quickly found him. He chased him through the windows and doors of several cars before the thief gave up and ran away. The thief was in complete disbelief that any dog could move with such amazing speed. JD went over and released Gus from the net. You're fantastic! Mean as a junkyard dog! I owe you my life, yelped Gus. You would have done the same for me, said JD. After all, you taught me how to do it. You learned some of that on your own. I can't believe it, barked Gus. Gus was very grateful as he rested that night. He continued to think about JD. The next morning, Gus asked JD to follow him. Come on, I've got something I want to show you, Gus said to him. Here's the picture. They went to the back of the yard. Gus pushed away a cement block, and behind that, Gus pushed away an old crate. Finally, he opened the door of a cabinet that led to a secret hidden passage to the fence. Gus looked at the young dog and said, Go on, JD. You have a life outside of these fences, and it's about to start. I'll always be grateful for what you did to me last night. You do have the makings of a great police dog, and I hope your dreams of becoming a police dog comes true. JD looked at Gus. Are you sure? I'm afraid. I don't know if I should go, he said. Gus looked at him. I know you're not sure, but it's your dream. You can make your dreams come true if you try. Just remember your training and get going. JD was still unsure, and he didn't make a move. Gus continued, Remember, good always wins, out over evil in the end. Make sure you stay on the good side. You need to find the police academy. You'll want to make sure that you find my brother. Ask for Semi. Tell him that Gus sent you. That won't make life easier for you, but at least he'll give you a chance, Gus said. Okay, Gus, can you please come with me, JD asked. Nah, not me. My place is here. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. This is my home, my goal, and my dream. I wouldn't trade it for the world. That's why I want you to chase your dream. I want you to be just as proud one day, Gus told him. I'm grateful to you, Gus. You sure have taught me a lot, JD said. Just throw a stake over the fence someday and we'll call it even, junkyard dog. Gus started smiling and gleaming with pride. JD stared at the opening. After a moment, he took a deep breath. He gave a nod to Gus and escaped through the small hole in the fence. He ran deep into the city to find the police academy. He ran past many buildings and crossed the bridge into the downtown area. Wow, he said to himself as he looked upon the massive skyscrapers. He saw tons of amazing things. He never knew there were so many things out there. JD kept searching for the academy. He asked every dog, horse, and rat how to find it. One dog directed him north, another directed him east, and a third directed him west. Those are all directions, So sometimes you go this way, or that way, or that way, and they all have different names, like north, south, east, and west. JD asked one dog, and finally he met a bulldog that said that he would be happy to show him right where the academy was. JD followed the bulldog down many streets and alleys, and then they came to the end of a dark alley. JD asked, "Aren't we going to the police academy? This doesn't look like..." What do you think's going to happen? I don't know. There's the picture. What do you think's happening? Just then, several dogs surrounded him. They growled and snarled. JD asked, "What's going on here? Why are you doing this? I thought we were trying to find the police academy." "We don't like the police," said a dark shadow on a nearby rooftop. "Why are you trying to get there? Are you the police?" "No, I'm just JD, the junkyard dog," he replied, trembling. They all laughed at him. "Junkyard dog?" the dark shadow asked. "That's a laugh. You're no junkyard dog. A junkyard dog would never shake and fright like you," he snarled. JD did not like being laughed at and soon found his courage. He started to chuckle out loud. His teeth started to show when he spoke. "Who said I was frightened?" JD asked. The other dogs started to get really nervous. After all, JD was larger and stronger than the two. About courage. For instance, a real junkyard dog would have to growl at something like this. "Grrr," JD growled with all of his might. This immediately stopped the dogs, and their eyes got really big. All the dogs were now frightened by him. JD went on to say, "Oh, I would bark a little something like this. Roar! Rah! Rah!" Just then, all the dogs started backing up. "Look, they're all running away!" JD continued, "Oh yeah, I almost forgot the most important part. A true junkyard dog would bite like this." Just then, all the dogs ran away. JD watched them disappear. He said aloud, "I wish you could have seen that, Gus." The rain soon came and poured on him very hard, the lightning and the thunder overhead. He curled up into a ball in the doorway of a store. He had a dream that night that he saw the face of Bone Crusher all over again. Again and again he heard him say, "Never mess with the meanest street dog in Indianapolis." He awoke in a startled panic. JD realized the voice he heard in the alley was the same voice as the dog that threw him into the water that horrible night. "I have to get that guy," JD told himself. The next day, JD finally found himself at the front door of the academy. He took a deep breath and knocked on the door. A sheepdog answered the door and acted blind to seeing JD there. JD realized the dog was having a hard time seeing through the fur overlying his eyes. You guys know that sheepdog are super hairy. They have a lot of fur on them, so they cover his eyes. "I'm here," JD stated. "I'm here to see Semi. Gus sent me. I want to join the police force." Here's the next picture. That's Semi right there. What do you think's going to happen? "Semi, you say?" asked the sheepdog while parting his fur to see. "Oh, why didn't you say so? Okay, come with me." He escorted JD to Semi, who was busy teaching the other dogs how to climb. "I have a new recruit," said the sheepdog. "He asked for you by name." "Fine," Semi replied without even looking at him. The sheepdog went on to say, "He said Gus sent him." "Really?" Semi asked curiously, looking at JD up and down. "Gus sent him, He'll do, I guess. Go over there and join the others," Semi commanded, and JD did, just as he was told. JD was very impressed with Semi. Semi was very large and strong. He was well respected by all the other dogs, and he was respected by JD. JD did not remember Semi. He didn't recognize JD either. You guys remember that Semi is JD's dad, and Semi lost him when he was a puppy when he was floating down the river. One afternoon, Officer Cassidy came running up to Semi. Officer Cassidy said, "Urgent mission, Semi. It's another diamond robbery. Mac Dillon and Bone Crusher are striking again." Semi yelled to his trainees, "You heard him, boys. You all your by deputies off in the Indianapolis Police Department. Everybody get in the van." All right. Everybody piled into the police van and took off at a great speed to stop the robbery. Mac Dillon and his dogs were already breaking into the diamond reserve. This was the largest diamond collection in the entire area. Police cars swept in from all directions. The doors of the vans flew open and dogs poured out. They quickly started catching the bad dogs, and Officer Cassidy chased Mac Dillon down an alley. Semi ran up and tripped Mac Dillon, causing him to fall down, and Officer Cassidy put him in handcuffs. He said to Semi, "Great work, Semi. Now go get Bone Crusher." With a bark and a nod, Semi darted off to get Bone Crusher. He was seen climbing a nearby fire escape to get away. Semi was faster, though, and he pursued him with amazing speed. They were now on the rooftop. "Stop right there," Semi commanded. Bone Crusher turned around to see Semi. "You will never arrest me again," Bone Crusher snarled, baring his teeth. However, Bone Crusher was too close to the edge of the roof and started to fall over the edge. Semi caught Bone Crusher just in time. "Semi," he begged, "I'll be good. Please don't let me fall. I'll turn things around." Semi felt sorry for him, and he pulled him up, away from the edge, and didn't let Bone Crusher fall. Bone Crusher looked at him with darkness in his eyes and said, "I promised you I'd turn things around. This is me turning things around." With that, he pushed Semi over the edge, and Semi caught himself and was holding on with all of his might, and Bone Crusher said, "Sorry there, officer, but you lose again." Just then, Bone Crusher heard the most vicious growl he had ever heard. It came from right behind him, and it was very, very scary. As he slowly turned around, he was met with the landing of JD coming in from a giant leap that left Bone Crusher pinned down and flat on his back. "You're not getting away from me. I've waited my whole life to take you down." "I don't know what you're talking about. I never did anything to you. Let me go," Bone Crusher commanded. JD saw what happened to Semi, and he knew Bone Crusher could not be trusted. Then Bone Crusher pulled a surprise move and broke free. Now the two dogs were nose to nose growling at each other. Bone Crusher said, "This'll be easy." JD said, "That's what you think. You've never fought a junkyard dog. You've never seen a Gus's Special." "What's a Gus's Special?" Bone Crusher asked. JD said, It's a... Then JD looked sick. He moaned and stopped moving and even stopped breathing. He fell down and JD looked dead. You remember what the special was? We're gonna jump him. "Wow, I didn't realize it would be that easy," Bone Crusher said, laughing loudly. He got right over the top of JD. He snarled at JD. "Well, kid, that's what you get for messing with the meanest street dog in Indianapolis." JD opened up one eye and said, "And this is what you get for messing with a junkyard dog." He sprung up, striking his paws into the chest of Bone Crusher, sending him over the edge. Bone Crusher would never be seen again. As it turned out, the dog catcher had been waiting and watching from the street below. JD had launched him right into the dog catcher's net. The dog catcher gave a salute and said, "Thanks, officer. He won't get away this time." He put Bone Crusher in the back of his truck and locked the door. JD pulled Semi safely. Semi was in disbelief and was grateful to be alive. "Wow," Semi barked. "Did you know you would defeat him?" Semi asked. JD replied, "Because good always wins over evil in the end." Here we go. That night, Semi invited JD over to his house for dinner. As they walked up to Semi's wife, she looked at JD and gasped. She instantly recognized the eyes of her long-lost son. "Cody," she shrieked, "you're home!" A few days later, father and son were together again. They went for a long walk and found themselves in front of Old Man Shreve's junkyard. They threw a juicy steak over the fence to Gus. Although most dogs only saw Gus as the meanest junkyard dog who ever lived, Cody saw him very differently. He saw a great teacher, a great friend, and a great hero to whom he would always know as Uncle Gus. All done. Says, to someday reach your dream, it may seem just too far. Just like seeing a tunnel's light or some distant star. It's not so far, not as far as it may seem. If you never give up, you might reach your dream. Okay, have a good day, guys.